If you want to travel to Canada, be it as a student, as an immigrant, or as a tourist, you will come to a crossroad wherein you will do not know from where to start, what forms to fill, what are the documents required, etc. To move ahead, you will either do your own research, read the material on the internet, watch YouTube videos just like this one, or reaching out to the friends and family who have done such process before. Or you will simply appoint a representative. And if you are appointing someone, you need to tell IRCC that you are authorizing that individual to communicate on your behalf. But how do you do that? You need to submit a form called IMM 5476 along with your application. So in this video, we'll talk everything about the form IMM 5476, which is also called the use of representative. How do you fill it? Who can be a representative? Did we have one and why? And what are the positives and negatives of having one? So let's begin. Hi guys and welcome back to Ole Canada. My name is Ankit. I'm an IT consultant by profession, and in my free time, I like to make YouTube videos such like this one. And you might have also seen my wife who likes to make guest appearances in some of those videos. So first let's talk about from where can you download this form. There are many ways of doing it. You can obviously go to the browser and just write for IMM 5476 and you will have a URL which will take you to the form directly. But we do not know whether this is going to be the latest form or not. You might also end up downloading a form of the previous version and you would not want to do that. So the best way to download this form is going to the permanent residence portal, and if you go in here, we log in using the credentials. In my case, I already had started with drafting an application, so I will go to the view PR applications. If you're creating for the first time, you will go to start new application. If I search for the forms, I'll just directly use the browser search and write for 5476, and here we have it, the use of representative form. And once it is downloaded, we'll open it up in the Adobe Acrobat reader or whichever PDF reader you have it in your system. And here we have it. So before we start filling this up, let's look at the key instructions. First, you do not need to hire a representative. It is purely optional. No one can guarantee the approval of your application, not even an agent. And you can only have one representative per application at one point in time. You need to use this form if you want to authorize someone to act on your behalf. For that, you will have to complete the sections A, B, and D. If you want to cancel an existing one, then you need to complete section A, C, and D. So I will take the example wherein I want to appoint a representative. When I say I am the principal applicant on the file, the person who is applying the visa. So I'll select I am appointing a representative. So we'll fill up the section A, B, and D. In here, I will enter your full name, that's the principal applicant. In this case, let's say if I enter the date of birth in the required format. So in the third question, if you have already submitted your application, name of the office where the application was submitted. This question is relevant if you already have an application that was submitted, it was processed, or maybe you already have an application number for that. But there were certain documents that were asked for, or there are some complications that came up, because of which now you want to appoint a representative who will represent you and communicate with IRCC, and that individual will provide you guidance throughout the process. I will have to provide the name of the office where the application was submitted. For example, when we did our spousal sponsorship application, we had submitted our file at the Case Processing Center, Sydney, Nova Scotia. So that is something that you will have to mention it here. Similarly, you will also have to provide what is the type of application and was there any UCI number that was assigned. And if there was, then you have to provide that one as well. In this example, let's assume that I'm creating a new application. So these three fields will be not applicable for me. So I will have to write not applicable in the spaces provided. Alright, so before we start with section B, appointment of representative, let me explain two different types of representatives that you can have on your application. On one side, you have a paid representative. These are the individuals which you most likely refer to as an agent or an immigration consultant, or sometimes also as lawyers. These individuals are going to guide you all along the way, right from the time when you are thinking of traveling to Canada under a specific program, towards the point when you are actually receiving your travel visa. In exchange of the services they are rendering, they are going to charge you a fee. And hence the name suggests it's a paid representative. And on the other side, you have an unpaid representative. These individuals are not really the agents, but they are so well versed with the overall process for the program you are applying that they are going to represent you when it comes to communicating with the IRCC. So let me explain this with our example. If you have been following our channel, you might probably know that we had done a family sponsorship outland application. What it means is I was the sponsor residing in Canada and my wife was the principal applicant residing in India. Now, by default, IRCC will only share updates on the progress of your application to the principal applicant. Even if I am a sponsor, IRCC is not going to share any of those updates to me because principal applicant is someone else. Since I was residing in Canada, it would make obvious sense that I should be the representative of my wife so that I can call up IRCC or send web forms or send emails to ask for an update on the application. But I can only do this if my wife had submitted this form IMM 5476 and identified me as her representative. So in this case, I became the uncompensated or the unpaid representative for my wife. So now let's go back to the form and see what are the fields that are applicable. So in here, my wife is declaring that I am authorizing the following individual to serve as my representative. I authorize IRCC to release the updates on my file to this guy. So in here, you are going to enter the name of the representative. In our case, it was me, so I'll just enter my name. If you have an agent or a consultant working on your file, you are going to provide his or her name here. In the next question, you have to tell whether this individual is an uncompensated representative or a compensated one. Since in our case, I was representative of my wife and I did not charge her any money for that because I'm not a daredevil to have the guts to do that, I selected this first checkbox, which is friend or family member. And if you're a professional and still not charging the applicant a fee, you will select the second checkbox and you will provide the name of the province of the law society your representative is member of and the membership ID. If you're not a friend or a family member or an immigration consultant, you will select other. But if you have a paid consultant or a lawyer, you are going to provide his or her details in these fields. So in the example that I'm taking, since I was the representative, there was no paid individual. So we are just going to leave these fields as is and make no changes. The next is representative's contact information. This is fairly straightforward. If you are represented by someone from your family member or friends, you are going to provide his or her mailing address in these fields. So if IRCC were to reach out to this individual, they are going to initiate the contact using these modes of communication. So they will either go to the mailing address or they will reach out using the phone or the email addresses. And if you are represented by a paid consultant or an agent, you are going to provide the name of the firm to which that person belongs to and the corporate mailing address in these fields. Make sure that that individual is authorized to work as an immigration consultant. On the website canada.ca, you can find out if your representative is authorized or not. I have provided the link in the description box below, which you may want to check it out. So in our case, we will just write not applicable in the name of the firm. This field is also not applicable. Supervising lawyer, not applicable. And here we'll enter the mailing address. And lastly, you will have them provide the signature here and the date when it was signed. So far, we have been assuming a case that we are appointing a representative. So the section C becomes irrelevant and we just directly jump to section D, which is declaration. In the declaration section, the applicant is going to provide his or her signature and the date when it was signed. And if there is a sponsorship application, which was applicable in our case, the spouse is going to provide their signature as well and the date when it was signed. So now the question arises, how are you going to sign this form? It's as simple as taking a print of this form, providing your signatures manually, scanning it, and uploading back into the online portal if you are submitting an online application. And if you are applying for a program which requires you to submit a paper application, you will attach this with the rest of the package and send it to IRCC. So this was all about how to appoint a representative. But what if you already have one and somehow you want to cancel their representation so that they can no longer receive updates on your application? There could be multiple reasons for doing that. The agent you have is no longer providing satisfactory services, is not providing timely updates, is holding back on some information on your file, or you simply had some negative experiences. In either of these or many other situations, you may want to cancel their appointment. In order to do that, you are going to select I am cancelling the appointment of a representative in the first page of the form, and you will complete section A, C and D. And in here, you will simply provide the name of the individual and the firm this individual belongs to. And in the third case, if you want to cancel someone's appointment and appoint a new one, all this section becomes relevant and you are going to fill up information in all of these fields. Alright, so this brings us to the end of this video. If you want to know what are the updates I received as the representative for my wife's sponsorship application, you may want to check out this video which is showing up in the cards above. I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, please do not forget to hit that like button so that YouTube can recommend this video to people who are looking for answer to these type of questions. And subscribe to the channel to show your support. Again, this is Ankit from Ole Canada signing off.